All right, let's talk. Guys, we gotta talk full range of motion. What is up? It's your boy John, the Street Vibe, BB Pros, and tell like it is. Welcome back to an episode of Coaching Up. Today, guys, we're coaching up Isaiah Miranda. He's doing back today, and there's some exercises there. Some very popular ones that I just want to really talk about today. Full range of motion, pull downs, pull ups, T-bar rows, dumbbell pullovers. You're gonna get exactly what you guys need to know and understand about what is the full range of motion. All right, Isaiah Miranda's looking kind of saucy these days. Good for him. Actually, my first real coaching up video is actually done on Isaiah Miranda. So we'll see if he's learned something. Last time he was training with Bryce Hall, and he was obviously a beginner. That was almost like 3 years ago. So a man's grown up. All right, cool. All right, so Isaiah's got it down. I like it right now. I'm not gonna knock. I'm gonna give credit where credit's due. The guy looks good. He's getting up and down like I would like to, but I'm gonna force a little bit more on that full range of motion. When we're talking about like time under tension and progressive overload, mainly we're talking about progressive overload. We want to look at having some, measurables or some exacts that you can follow to make sure that when you do progressive overload, these things are always consistent. So we're talking about like your tempo, depending on whatever it is in terms of that set intensifier, and your full range of motion. So when it comes to you failing or coming close to failure, it's that in terms of you being able to go through the full range of motion. So if you can't go all the way down and come back all the way up, that is failure. So what is our full range of motion in terms of like doing a pull-up? Well, a pull-up, again, super simple. I can literally end this video right now and just do this. It's when your arms and the elbows get like this. Video's done. There you go. Finished. Let's put it through action. Let's put it to action. So most of the time when people do pull-ups, I've done a ton of videos on this before. Everyone's thinking about a chin-up, so they're trying to get their chin up. So they're kind of like, just trying to, just wrench their neck up and like, doing this stuff. I'm like, I need to get it up. It's not where your head comes up. It's where your elbow comes down to the side. So we want to achieve basically this, right? If you look at where my elbows are completely down, my posture, my core is engaged, my chest is up. If you think about it, if the bar was in my hand right now, if I do this and put a bar here, look, my chin is up, but this is my full range of motion, right? That's as far as you need to go, right? Now, some people's range of motion might not be as good or as great, but everybody can get down here. That's where we want to be. So that's where you're trying to go. So we start here and come here. Now, starting from the bottom. What does the bottom look like? The bottom is, if I'm hanging, we're engaged, right? Now here's semi-engaged, here's still engaged, but stretching. I've just moved my head like an overhead press. Basically, not engaged, it would be this. Engaged would be this. So my full range of motion is here, and then to here, and then back down, right? And your range of motion is going to change depending on where you grip. And that's why it's important that when we're doing these or pull downs that we don't go super wide, because the wider we are, the harder it will be to actually get full range, right? Especially when you're on something that's fixed. So if I go and say closer, my full range of motion will be a little greater because my elbows can come in a little quicker. Sorry, they can come in closer because it's closer to my body. Wherever I move my arm, my elbow, that's how much range of motion I'll start to lose. So your range of motion for this is all the way down, still engaged, like overhead press. And then when your elbows come all the way down to this side, and here is my full range. Right, now if you look, this is how wide I was holding. That's how much I can go. I can't go any further. I can if I tuck my elbows in more. Hey guys, check it out. These exercises are specifically in my ebook, and there's an actual directory for you guys to see how to do the movement properly. So guys, pick up my ebook right now in the description below. Anyway, let's get back to the show. Let's talk pull downs. So pull downs are virtually the same thing when we're talking about doing pull-ups. The same range of motion, elbows to the floor, and you can see like as they're doing this right away, they're fatigued. And that's what some of you guys can understand this. From The first exercise you do, it's going to set the tempo for the rest of the exercise for the rest of the day. Like that's your your opener. It's gonna set the tone for the rest of your workout. But you're not gonna have the same amount of energy as you had for your first exercise. So it's gonna die off a little bit, right? But effort stays high. So when you go from like doing pull-ups, and obviously if you're doing whatever reps, I don't care how many reps you're doing. If you can do a pull-up body weight or you're doing assisted, you're gonna tax your lats. The tax man comes for your lats. I'm the lat tax man. When you owe me full range of motion. That's right. Okay. So anyway, so basically, when you go to the next exercise, you're gonna have to adjust the weight so you can complete the full range of motion. That is the goal. Exercise to exercise to exercise, you should be able to do the full range of motion, and if the weight you're using is too much, then you decrease it to get the full range of motion. So we're not gonna spend a lot of time on this because literally doing a pull-up pronated and doing a pull-down pronated, you're literally doing the exact same thing. All right, so your range of motion is, say that, now I have obviously used the primaries here, they're a little different from using your regular traditional bar, but regardless, it's the same idea. Range of motion is when your chest is being up, like you see right away that when I'm holding the handles, and then I put myself in a position where I basically take my shoulders back and away from my ears. You see I'm already putting tension on the cables. So from here, it's just elbows. I'm thinking about my elbows being attached from here. Pretend like your hand is like a hook attached to your elbow. Like that's all it is. And you wanna feel the pull from here come right away from here. So when you're looking at, getting the weight down, your thought process is driving with the elbows, not pulling with the hands. Pulling with the hands creates this type of thing you just wanna pull yourself up and do this. And that's very natural because when you're climbing, when you're a kid, you literally would grab onto something, you'd be like, a tree branch, some shit, and you were like, ugh. Then you're like, and you pull yourself over and got to the next tree. No one's climbing trees and just coming up. Maybe now, I don't know, the kids are freaks these days. But I've never seen a kid do a perfectly good chin up to a tree branch, to the next tree branch, like a ninja war or something. Anyway, point is, we want to think elbows, pulling from the elbows, and then keep that chest up the entire time, right? Think that this part of your body, posture does not change. Don't change this. Don't let anything infect the integrity of your chest posture. Base your shoulders back away from your ears, engage your core, so now you're stuck like this. And everything else now is just your arms, the accessories to help pull the weight. So you're basically here, my chest is up, and then I'm just pulling with my elbows down. All the way up, and then head up a little bit, and then pulling my elbows down. That's where I want, that's my range of motion. And then when I'm pulling my elbows, when I'm cueing my elbows, I'm also continually driving them to the floor while I keep my chest up. Not where I'm pulling my shoulders forward. Just do it yourself, guys. Watch, whoever's watching right now, you guys watching, bam, take hands like this, chest up, and reach down to the floor with your elbows. Try to touch the floor with your elbows. Do not move your shoulders, trying to just literally push down to the floor. And you'll be like, shit, it's tight. That's what you should be feeling when you're doing this. So think all the way down, driving with the elbows, then the chest is up, core is engaged, your back's completely stiff, and then you're just driving the elbows. There's your full range of motion. Here, all the way to here. That's your range. All the way from here, full range of motion. So these I forget his buddy, his training partner's name, but they both look good. They're both doing the best they can. And you know what? From last time I did a coach, I feel like I'm coaching Isaiah from afar. We just connected that way. Maybe my telekinesis coaching up video got into the algorithm, and then since I use his name, it went all the way his channel, and he was like, bam, bam, and he's like, oh shoot, form, and then he brought back good form. I don't know. Maybe that happened. I'm just gonna say it did, because he's doing really good right now. His form looks really good. But again, I want to go over full range of motion in this exercise because a couple things here, I would definitely, coach him up a little bit. And that's just the full range of motion. We're doing T-bar rows. So T-bar row, full range of motion. Let's go over that right now. Again, once you're getting, it's okay. If you want to do some partial reps at the end, that's fine. I get it. But like, know when, like if you're doing partial reps, like halfway, like if you do it, like, you know, you get like maybe 5, 6 reps, and all of a sudden you're doing partials. It's like lower the weight so we can get some, like, you know, some time and attention here. Like let's make these sets last a little longer than, like, you know, 10 seconds. So when we're looking at full range on the T-bar row, would be the same type of row as a dumbbell row, only you're unilateral. So we're looking at T-bar row, regardless of the handles you're using, whether you're using the pronated one, I would say like the neutral-ish one, or what I like doing is I like taking D handles and throwing them on here for the extra range of motion. I'm pretty sure I saw Ben Bukulski do this. Regardless, our full range of motion, we want to complete before we do this like extreme hyperextension from the T-spine, but we still do want that, right? Like, I'm showing beginner full range of motion, I'm gonna show you advanced full range of motion. Beginner full range of motion is gonna be like, we want to get people to learn how to retract their scapula. So for the most part, some people will have to stay in this position where they're, you know, they're basically like locked in here, and then, you know, they're rowing from here, and they get all the way through. That's full range, right? If you look at, that's perfectly fine. This is great. My lats are engaged. You can tell my lats are engaged because I'm I'm semi-retracted. Here's when I'm completely protracted. So beginner starting off at this part here is great, and then just getting the elbows all the way back, right? That's your full range of motion from here until the elbows come all the way up and through, and then we're squeezing our scaps as well too. So we're doing this and this. So at the top, your scaps are retracted. That means your traps, your rhomboids, your delts are doing this at the top. Full range is when this is closed and the elbows are completely at the side. They don't have to come all the way too far like this, because once they do this, then you start to see the elbows, you start to see the delts start rolling forward, and then we're not really working back and we're working delts, right? So here's the cue we want. Whether you're doing them here, when you're already semi-retracted as scaps and you're engaged already here, or we're fully protracted, you want to think if you're pulling from here, or if you're pulling from here, or pulling from here, think putting pressure and pulling back as well too while you pull up. That's going to engage your lats more. It's going to get you to avoid your traps doing this. So if I'm here and I'm pushing this down, right? You can see right now my elbows are going up and back. Same way if I grab this and I'm pulling down this way. You can see right away my shoulders get set, and then my range is all the way up. And then if I use this as well too, you can see a little more using these, right away I'm like this, right? You can see I'm pulling this way and then drive my elbows back. Now your full range of motion is going to be, we'll start from here, let's say all the way down, and then pulling all the way up, elbows are back, and then scaps are tracked, and here's a full range. Not here, and not here. So it's from here, and then it's up. All the way down, up. You want to make sure your core stays on this. It's fine if your sternum comes up a little bit, because if you think about being totally retracted, that's what's going to happen to our back. It's going to bow a bit. But what we don't want is this part being off like this as well too, because when that happens, you're chest supported. Your lower back should not be engaged at all. It should be active, engaging the core, but it shouldn't be lifting it up, right? We don't want to like compress your discs, your lumbar spine when we're doing chest supported row. Dumbbell pullovers. Now this one's like, I would say this is it's a very advanced movement. It's just different because if we're not careful, we end up turning this into a chest tricep movement, and there's a lot of misconceptions about this movement because it is used during like chest days as well too. So to make sure we are doing back with this exercise, just to briefly go over what your lats are doing, right? So my lats, my teres, so like give you a little more in depth. The teres minor and then the teres major connect on the body differently. The teres major and the lats all come down, they come in and they sit in the front. The teres minor connects in the back with your along with your triceps. So when you're doing like pull downs or sternal pull downs, you're like, my triceps are starting to bug me or whatever. it's because it's in that general area too. So when we're doing pullovers, when we're doing this shoulder extension, it's the lats. So if you look at me right now from here, if I do this, like that's literally, my lats are doing this, they're helping pull this over, right? When I do this, right? I don't want to think about pulling my shoulder down and then pulling from my hands, because my triceps start to do this kind of tricep pullover thing. I don't know. Anyway, so just to show you guys a couple things. And they're doing the same, they're making this similar mistake. So we have like, see the extremely bent elbows. You can see right away that he fails at his elbows. His elbows start to flex, which is gonna turn his triceps on, which is gonna turn this thing into a tricep exercise, not a back exercise. Now, when we're doing pullovers, just to give you guys a little more of an understanding of how this whole thing works, remember the chest, the intercostal, like when you do decline or dips, this part of the chest does also help with shoulder extension. So not only do your lats help with shoulder extension, your teres help with shoulder extension, your chest help with shoulder extension. That's why people think it's a chest exercise or they feel it in their chest, because the chest is aiding that lift, but it's not primarily doing it, because for your chest to be primarily doing it, it would have to continue this all the way down, right? That's when this part of the chest is actually doing a chest movement. It's only help like aiding or like stabilizing from like here to here, right? So that'll be like me doing a fly like this, and it's kind of like leaving it up here and then not finishing down here to really work. Anyway, so to avoid all this, what we're gonna do is when we grab this, you wanna make sure when we're grabbing the plate, like we're gonna make a triangle. And we make this triangle because we're gonna match, so watch my other, we're gonna kind of wrap it over here real quick. Does that look weird or what? Okay, just don't worry about my damn picture, all right? Football players, just watch NFL Network. You can see all the hands look messed up. Anyway.
It became personal with me.
So I'm making a triangle, and this triangle is gonna keep the same shape throughout. So I wanna make sure that this triangle here comes over this way, and then my elbow is pointing the exact same way. So I'm creating this entire triangle all the way like this. So I'm almost internally rotated a little bit. What that's gonna do is just gonna avoid the elbows from being this way and then doing this type thing when because that's exactly what you look like when you're doing it that way. You don't wanna be doing them like this. Elbows are gonna flare out a little bit. If my elbows are pointed this way, my arm can't bend. It definitely can if my elbow's underneath, right? So when we're grabbing these guy, here's how I like to grab it. Like this. Ow. Anyway, so I like to grab it, put some stank on it. I like to put it on the bench. I'm gonna have my back, the majority of my T-spine, like the middle of my T-spine on, and like I can have it like a little bit up by my neck as well too, for a little bit of stabilization. I'm gonna grab underneath like this, and then I'm gonna reach the other hand over as well too, basically like this, and sometimes you have a bigger bell. And then I'm going to tuck my left elbow, and I'm gonna drive my left elbow up here. And now I'm straight. Now from here, so I'm gonna make sure my elbows do this right away, right? I'm gonna press it like this, right? I'm gonna press it up. And then when it's pressed up, then I'm gonna flare my elbows out. Now from here, I'm gonna push the weight backwards. I'm pushing back and keep my elbows flared to the side. So when I'm all the way down, my full range is here, fully stretched. And because my elbows are flared to the side and I'm reaching far, my teres, my lats, like under my arm is like just active as H right now. Like that is so active. If I pull it in, it starts to take the tension off. So I start doing this, I'm losing the range of motion. You see how much my range of motion just shortened? So I'm gonna push this thing out, and I'm pulling my elbows out to the side, and then I'm pushing up, and chest is gonna flare up at the top. I'm gonna look like I am at the top of a press. If I was doing like a dumbbell press, this is how I would look. I'd be like this. That's how I want to finish. And then back out all the way, and then all the way up. You can see my elbows aren't bending. Nothing is bending. The only thing that's moving is my teres or my lats. There's your full range of motion. When you can't do this, you're like, ah, and you gotta do this, you're done. And that's how you make sure you keep your range of motion consistent. That's how you successfully progressive overload. If you're progressive overloading with a short range of motion, you're gonna only be able to progressive overload in that short range of motion. The second you actually try to get a little deeper, you're gonna be decreasing the weight by like at least 30%. So start off with a good full range of motion first. Make sure that when you're starting your exercise, your first set is to go over the full range of motion, to practice it. It's your dress rehearsal. It's how the rest of your reps are gonna look no matter how much weight you use. So make sure you use a load that's gonna challenge your full range of motion, but bring you to exhaustion. Either a few reps to failure or maybe failure here and there, not all the time, but full range of motion. Anyway guys, that is it for today's video. If you guys wanna see any more specific workouts or you want me to coach up a specific athlete or YouTuber or coach, let me know in the comment section below. If you guys like the video, guys, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share. You know, become all that tell like it is, transparent, rolling with truth. And make sure you guys grab my ebook. Anyway, guys, you know how it is. Iron sharpens iron, progressive overload your life. In the meantime, keep dream chasing. Peace.